former NATO Supreme Allied Commander and MSNBC Chief International Analyst, Admiral James Stavridis. Always good to have you here on these topics, Admiral. So, you have Russia capturing the Ukrainian eastern stronghold of Avdiivka. I think I said that properly this week. It seems like momentum is behind Russia right now. Ukraine's summer offensive fell short. Most agree U.S. military assistance is, in fact, the most crucial component to Ukraine defeating Russia. Without U.S. help, sir, how long can Kyiv hold on? How could the frontline conditions change if we don't give them the support they were asking for?
It's critical that this aid, military aid, start moving now. And thank God our European allies have already stepped up with almost $60 billion in aid, and that will be part of the lifeline. Now we've got to do our part on this side of the Atlantic. And if we don't do it, Alex, I think by the fall, you could see the Russians really gaining significant momentum here. The Ukrainians will hold them for a period of time on what is in the pipeline, but that is already dwindling. We've got to get them three things: the F-16s, which we've been working on for over a year, more artillery rounds. They're way behind Russia in that regard, and long-range ATACMS cruise missiles that can reach into Russian supply depots behind the front lines. If we do that, the Ukrainians will hold.
Admiral, I'm not going to ask you to tell me something that will hold you to, but speculating, if they were to get everything you've just mentioned, everything that the United States needs to give them, how long would it take to end this war, do you think?
I think ultimately this war will end like all wars, Alex, which is with a negotiation. Clearly, Putin is not going to negotiate till he sees the outcome, the election in the United States. The Ukrainians will simply fight as long as they possibly can. When I kind of put that together, I would say toward the end of this year, potentially both sides will be in a position to want to negotiate. How that goes is up to the Ukrainians and the Russians. But I think that over time, Ukraine's chances are still very good if the West remains engaged exactly as President Biden just said.
I'll tell you, we can all pray that this war does not enter a fourth year 1 year from now. We shall see. But let's talk about what happened on Friday, sir, as the U.S. announced extensive sanctions on Russia since that war started. But Russia has weathered the sanctions imposed on it the past couple of years. I mean, there are a number of bold and unconventional proposals to punish Moscow, like seizing the $300 billion in frozen Russian bank reserves for Ukraine's defense, also curbing Russia's oil exports. Give us a sense of how effective these new sanctions could be. Should the U.S. pursue other options to counter Putin?
I think the new package of sanctions is going to continue to bite, but we've got to recognize, Alex, sanctions are never going to be a silver bullet. They are very slow moving. Think how long South Africa lived under punishing global sanctions till finally apartheid fell. It was decades. Sanctions are part of the solution. The real answer is a combination of the economic sanctions, the military pressure, the diplomatic engagement. All of that needs to go after Vladimir Putin's Russia. In terms of this new package of Russia's ability to get into the global banking system, it goes after their energy profits by putting more enforcement into the oil caps, and it goes after their military base, the firms that are providing, principally China, North Korea, a little bit of Iran, are providing chips and support. This targets that supply chain as well. So it's a well thought out package. Again, it's not going to be instantaneous.
That list that we were showing, my director, Sean, if you can throw that back up there, because some of Friday's sanctions target officials connected, top line there, to Alexei Navalny's death. His widow says that she's going to carry on his efforts for a democratic Russia, while a Russian state TV, at least supported host, warns that she would suffer the same fate as her late husband. As you hear that, someone who has been honored by Russia, and again, a state TV host, what does that say to you? And with most Putin opposition jailed right now or in exile, how successful can any challenge to his rule be?
First, we just need to pause and recognize the heroism and the courage of Alexei Navalny. Now you see his wife stepping up into that role. I give her enormous credit for her courage. All revolutions begin with small numbers of people who take great risk. And Putin feels very secure these days, Alex, but let's remember about 100 years ago, another czar of Russia felt pretty secure, Nicholas II. Mm-hmm. Eventually, revolution swept Russia, and it turned out badly for Nicholas II. Mm-hmm. In the end, Putin does not sleep well at night, nor should he, because of the courage of people like Alexei Navalny and now Yulia Navalny.
Nicholas, Alexandra, their entire family slaughtered. So let's talk quickly about Benjamin Netanyahu, who presented a post-war plan where Israel maintains indefinite military control over Gaza and hands over running the civilian life to Gazans without any links to Hamas. The plan defined the U.S. demand that Israel not reoccupy Gaza and reduce the territory size. What are your thoughts on this proposal, and with the U.S. and others pushing for Palestinian sovereignty when this war ends? Would this exacerbate tensions between Israel and its allies?
It would. This paper it's only a one-page paper that Netanyahu has put up. It's a non-starter across the board, other than in the right wing of the Israeli political body. It's a maximalist set of positions on the part of Israel. The best you could say for it is that it is an initial starting point to have conversations, but so many points, you mentioned a couple of them, will simply be unacceptable to the Palestinian Authority, the Arab League, the entire Arab world, Jordan, Egypt, Europe, and ultimately the United States as well. Israel's got to do better and got to meet the world a little bit further along than that paper certainly suggests.
Can you give any guesstimate, sir, as to how long this conflict is going to go on? Not as long as Ukraine-Russia, in my view. This one, because Israel has such a preponderance of military capability, I think in 2 to 3 months, they'll really grind down the remainder of Hamas. They've taken out well over half of Hamas's military echelon at this point. Once they do that 2 to 3 months from now, then I think the conversations really begin about that post-war security force. It's not going to be Israel simply occupying the Gaza Strip. It's going to have to be a combination of United Nations, Arab League, Palestinian Authority, some civilians from Gaza itself, and Israelis probably embedded. It'll be a combination of those things. That one, I see movement on by the summer, Alex. But what a horrific grind until then, sir.
Horrible.
All right, Admiral, always good to see you. Thank you so much.